Hi, everybody. Brad Truax here again from Eastman's Woodlands and Wildlife Committee. And we're continuing our series on the trees of Eastman. And here's one we really didn't expect to do. We're going to talk about elm trees today. This is showing stately elm trees. This was taken a long time ago. Elm trees no longer exist in this fashion, at least not here. Those stately elm trees once lined our streets. The arching branches created these cathedral-like ceilings, and they shaded our homes and our yards. And then Dutch elm disease came and wiped out most of them in North America. Dutch elm disease is caused by a microfungus, and it's transmitted by bark beetles. And of the 77 million elms that were here in North America in 1930, over 75% had been lost by 1989. A few days ago, when I posted a video about emerald ash borer, I happened to mention Dutch elm disease. And I made the comment, I can't remember the last time I saw an elm. The very next day, I was out taking a photo of what I thought was a beech leaf, and lo and behold, iNaturalist told me it was an American elm. Was I surprised? So, in fact, we do have some elms right here at Eastman and in New Hampshire. So again, elm trees are deciduous trees. They formerly could reach heights of 60 to 80 feet or higher, but today they rarely live long enough to reach the forest canopy because Dutch elm disease mortality rates increase sharply as tree size increases. The branches have an alternating pattern. And they have an umbrella-like branching pattern with a single trunk dividing upward into upward arching branches. And the leaves are ovate and they turn yellow or brown in autumn. Actually, they used to be very beautiful. The bark is a dark gray or brown, tends to be furrowed with intersecting ridges, and has kind of a rough, flaky appearance to it. And they do produce small green flowers in dense clusters in springtime before any of the leaves have emerged. And their fruits are flat-winged samaras. We'll show you a picture of those as well. So here is elm leaves. They're ovate. They have very pointed tips. You see this very pointed tip here. They're about 3 to 6 inches long and 1 to 2 inches wide, maybe as much as 3 inches wide. And note the double serrations here. So if you look very carefully, you see a big tooth here and then a little tooth. Big tooth, little tooth. That's called doubly serrated. And also note the asymmetry at the base. Okay, here the base comes all the way down here, whereas here it's kind of asymmetrical. And the underside is very rough due to very prominent veins that stick out. And once again, in the fall, these leaves will turn yellow or brown. This is showing the underside of that leaf. The underside is a paler shade of green than the top of the leaf. But what you see here are these very prominent veins that stick out. Uh, Elm leaves are easily confused with beech leaves since they're similar in size and shape. The elm tip is more pointed. Now, again, this is pointed, but here you kind of see where it's rounded, and then you have this little thing that sticks out in a point. The elm leaf is very soft and fuzzy when you feel it, whereas the beech leaf is kind of smooth and very leathery sort of a feeling. And the elm leaves, as I mentioned, are doubly serrated, has two teeth, whereas there's only single teeth on the beech leaves. And there is an asymmetry in both of these, but it's much more pronounced usually in the elm leaves. And once again, the veins on the underside are very prominent in the elm leaves as opposed to the beech leaves. These are elm samaras. The fruits of the elm are these flat-winged samaras. They tend to come out spring. They're dispersed by the wind, and birds and small mammals like to eat these seeds. So what's the value of elms for wildlife? Well, deer and rabbits tend to browse on the leaves and the twigs. The abundant seeds that ripen in late spring do provide soft mast or food for birds and very small mammals. And the elms do provide shelter and nesting opportunities for a variety of birds and small mammals. And certain moths and butterflies rely on the elms as host plants for their caterpillars. And then in turn, those caterpillars become good food sources for young birds. And the elms also stabilize soils and tend to prevent erosion. So they can be beneficial for the local ecosystem. Well, as I mentioned, Dutch elm disease wiped out most elms in North America. It's caused by a microfungus, which is transmitted by bark beetles. And it was first seen in the US way back in 1928, but it really spread widely in the 1950s, 1960s, and 1970s. And as we mentioned before, by 1989, 75% of the 77 million elms in North America had been lost. And in attempt to fight the fungus, the tree produces a gummy substance and distension of the cells that actually clogs the tree's vascular system, so that water and nutrients can't flow up. The flow is blocked. So it's not the fungus per se that blocks the vascular system. It's the response of the tree to the fungus that blocks the vascular system. And Dutch elm disease often starts in a single branch, and it causes wilting and yellowing and browning of the leaves. And eventually that branch dies, and ultimately the tree will die as well. This is showing a tree that was impacted by Dutch elm disease. You can see here there are still some healthy elm leaves, but this whole part of the canopy has disappeared. Probably started in one branch way up here and then spread to the rest of the tree. So, important lesson learned from Dutch elm disease is that we have a need for diversity. The elms were so popular back in the 50s and 60s and even before that, that often our streets were exclusively planted with elm trees. And once Dutch elm disease came, it left those streets barren. So our previously well-shaded areas around our homes and our yards were now left open to the sun. So the lesson here is that whether you're planting trees along your streets or in your yards or your woodlands, make sure you plant multiple different species. And we've seen so many species wiped out by pathogens that we need to be prepared for the aftermath. So once again, some of our other trees that are threatened at this point in time are the ash trees, which are threatened by the emerald ash borer, and the beech trees, which are threatened by beech leaf disease. So again, important lesson learned. Make sure that you're thinking about diversity when you're planting trees, either in your woodland or just in your yard. So that's a little bit about elms. Like I said, I never expected we'd be doing a little session about elms.